think about how the world has changed, I like to look at these images from the transition of the last two papal transitions. So this is 2005, from Pope John Paul to Pope Francis, and this is Pope Francis, to Pope Benedict, and Pope Benedict to Pope Francis. In 2005, there was one hero, look at this, with one phone here. Do you see him? Nokia phone, does everybody see him? And now look what happened. This looks like candles, but it's not candles, right? You see the difference in just a few years, how much has changed. Somebody said, if this happens today, there'll be live streaming, and everybody will turn around and be taking selfies, right? So what we want to think about is, what are things that you're doing in 2024? What will you be doing in 2024 that reflects the way social and digital media is used now, rather than it was used all these years ago? So let me show you a couple of things. For the Catholics in the room, you all know what purgatory is. And here, the Vatican offered time off purgatory if you follow the Vatican on Twitter. So in Christianity, there's heaven, hell, and then there's a period in between called purgatory, which can be thousands of years you're just lost. And I'm not Christian, but I follow the Pope in 8 languages because I don't want to take a chance in case this reincarnation doesn't work out. So otherwise you're going to be stuck for 1,000 years because you didn't follow him, right? This is so brilliant on their part that they could offer you this ultimate reason to follow him. It's pretty brilliant. So I was asked in 2015 about what are tech trends, and I said it feels like 2005, 2006, where you're seeing podcasting, email, blogging back then. Today, you're seeing some of these are around, some of these are not around, and things change so fast in everything we do. And when I was at the Met, people would ask me, who are the rivals of the Met? And I would say our rivals are not other museums. Our rivals are Netflix and Candy Crush and just life, life today. That's the competition, and that's what makes it hard. So I want to give you a couple of examples of how social media is hard. Here is an article, a tweet I did, and I got 100,000 plus impressions. I was so excited, I thought I'd get lots of new followers, and I got 1 new follower. So you have this idea that if you put out great content, people will just follow you. It is just not always the case. Here, for example, I got 225 new followers in 1 day. So I said, wow, I've got the formula. I'm just going to create this great content. It'll be great. Well, that same day, I lost 158 followers for the same content on the same day. Right? So you have this idea that you can get tons of followers based on that. And that's really difficult. By the way, including one of the people who unfollowed me was somebody I helped. I got him a job. I can't even look at the screen. I get upset. Right? So that's the reality of the world and how people use these tools. Oops. So let's talk a little bit about followers. Everybody wants to know how to get more followers. And I say that on social media, it's not who follows you that matters. It's who follows you that matters. Meaning, it's important to have lots of followers, yes, but it's much more important to have influential followers, people who have a lot of followers themselves. So it's great to get thousands of followers, but if you have the right number of people in your industry that you're interested in, that's much more important. That's how I look at the world in what we do. And so, for example, one of my clients is called the UN Refugee Agency, and they have 2 million followers, which is obviously amazing, 2 million followers. But their top 100 followers, so of the 2 million, top 100 followers have 500 million followers. So that gives you a sense, right? Their top 100 followers have 400 million followers, right? So what that tells you is that it's great to have as many followers as you can, but really focus on getting influential and people who are active in your field to follow you is the way I think about this. So let's talk. Oops, sorry. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So I want to tell you that when I was young, I wanted to be a millionaire. And I can tell you that I became a millionaire, but in unread Gmail messages, as you can see here. So, in fact, there was a story. Somebody looked at Priyanka Chopra's phone, and she had 250,000 unread messages. And here I have slightly more than that, and so it was pretty funny. Now, who's looking at this and getting really upset because you like to have your unread messages be 0? Who, raise your hand if you're like the person who wants to be close to 0. 1, 2, yeah. Okay, so I call you my inbox 0 heroes. So one of the things that I tell people is that when you're creating content, you know, we heard earlier also somebody was talking about people are just scrolling all day, right? So scrolling, so I tell people create thumb stoppers on your social media, right? As you're going. So what is your thumb stopper going to be? What is an image or a map or a cartoon or something that will accompany your content so that people will stop and read your content? That's what you should be looking at. There are lots of tools. Typorama app is a great tool. There's so many others. This is my wife, Rupa. So many thumb stopper tools, and I encourage you to play with them and see what makes the most sense for what you're doing. As we think about kind of AI, you know, Grammarly, is Grammarly popular in Goa, right? Yeah, so that's an example of kind of early AI for your content, and a lot of people obviously continue to use that. So now I want to spend a little time as we wrap up here to talk about LinkedIn. And I always say LinkedIn is underappreciated. I say it so often that people quote me saying LinkedIn is underappreciated, as you can see. So one of the things that I talk about, that in any business, you know, when you're in institutions, you'll see that social media, communication marketing, in every part of a business, you have social, digital comms is really important. So I want you to think about ways in which the work that you're doing can be reflected in this. So now here, I showed you this before, but you can just see that somebody created a list of the top social networks and forgot to put LinkedIn in it. And that's the problem that LinkedIn has, that it's an afterthought in what we're doing, right? So we I'll walk you through a couple of LinkedIn ideas, but I just wanted to also think for a minute about the other networks and what's happening with each of them. So you know that Mark Zuckerberg wanted to do the metaverse. Do you remember that? He made such a big fuss about it, and it's already dead. He spent $10 billion and fired 10,000 people after going to the metaverse and then forgetting that he wanted to do that. We've seen how Twitter, all the problems that Twitter has had, and so people are leaving Twitter, going to other platforms, and there's so many other platforms. I know that TikTok is not there in India unless you use a VPN, and TikTok was very successful in India until 63 accounts were taken, 63 apps were banned by the government. But you can see here that companies are hiring people who can make TikTok or Reels on Instagram, things like that. So something to think about for the young people in the room. And with Instagram, you're seeing how it's being used to drive local traffic in whatever you're doing with the Instagram tools. So Europe, Threads was banned till last week because of privacy issues with Twitter, with Meta. They had banned it, and now they just allowed people to use it. So they're very careful about privacy, as you know, in there. And some tactics and strategy that you can think about. I always tell people, post your best social media content again. It doesn't always have to be brand new stuff, because if so much content you're posting, your best stuff, you can post it more than once. You can also do a lot of behind the scenes content, process content, are things that I encourage people to do. And of course, people are doing so much now on Reels, and live video is also really popular. And thinking about how to use shorts in YouTube, right? YouTube Shorts are hugely successful. As you know, a lot of these tools are kind of imitating each other as they go forward. In terms of Twitter, the pitfalls of it, all the issue problems that are on it, but it's still so powerful, especially as we go into the elections next year. And one of the things I tell people is that NASA, the space agency in the U.S., has a very interesting social media strategy. They invite famous people to come and see rocket launches and all of that, but they also bring people who may not be famous but have influence within a community, including high school students and others, to come and watch and treat them as if they're much bigger organizations. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a couple of quick ideas. Number one is that please set up your Facebook legacy contact. Do you know what that is? Who has done this here? Anybody? Everybody should do this. What it is, especially for your parents and others, it's a way to designate someone in Facebook to look after your account after you pass. For the young people, they won't care here, but tell your parents and other people. My mother sat in these sessions like this, and I would tell her, please set up your Facebook legacy contact. And she didn't, and she died. And it was a major hassle for us because of all the messages and everything that came in. So please Google Facebook legacy contact, and please designate someone to do this for you in your family. It'll be very, very important. I can tell you from my own experience. So please do that. And the second is managing favorites. We already heard about the algorithm problem, right? We can't control what we see, but there is a way on Facebook to control what you see through through what's called favorites. So that's my wife Rupa. And when you go on somebody's account, you click on friends and you can see favorites. You can pick up to 30 different people or brands to be your favorites. So you will see only what you want to see first. Instead of complaining, oh my God, the algorithm is so bad, which it is, it's terrible. Think about adding the people that you want as favorites into your Facebook. It will change your Facebook life. It will improve it dramatically because you're seeing who you want to see first rather than the algorithm itself. So as we wrap up here, I just want to talk about the importance of tools that work both on your laptop and your smartphone. There's so many tools that do that so well, of course. And now, at the end of the year, I always use this tool called Future Me. Has anyone seen this? It's a free tool, futureme.org, futureme.org, and it allows you to write an email to yourself that will show up 6 months, 5 years, 10 years later. And it's pretty amazing. So we do this in my family every December 31st. We write a letter, and it comes 5, 10 years later. It's pretty amazing. So you go in, you write whatever you want, and you can choose when do you want it delivered. You can choose a specific date, and this letter will come back to your email in that time. It's a really nice way to, just to think about your year, think about the things you're interested in. It's a very nice little thing. So futureme.org is a lovely, we think about resolutions and things like that, but this is really nice. Okay, so before we go to questions, I want to share with you my social media success formula. We think about how our content should be each of these things. How do we make it helpful, useful, timely, informative, relevant, practical, actionable, authentic, generous, credible, brief, entertaining, fun, and occasionally funny. And this is a formula to be successful on social media. And I think for all of us, this is a way to think about what we're doing, right? We often, on social media, we don't do enough of the. I'm not saying all your posting should be all of these things, but all your posting should be some of these things to be successful.
आज गोंयांत डिझेलाच्या धुंवराक लागून कितलेशेच प्रदूषण वाडलां. हवेन वाडलेल्या कार्बनाक लागून लोकांक श्वास घेवपाक त्रास जाता. अरे डिस्टर्ब करू नाका रे राम असो. जशे व्हडल्या व्हडल्या शहरांनी प्रदूषणाचो लेवल वाडला तशी दुयेंसांय वाडल्या. अशीच परिस्थिती आमच्या गोंयानूय येतली काय असो सगळ्यांक भंय पडला.
अरे बस येता.
अरे बस येतली जाल्यार गोंग 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 करून आवाज करतली. पेरे 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 करून होर्न मारतली. कळ्ळें मरे. हे कितें रे आवाज ना तो ना हुंवरय ना. कसलो चमत्कार.
चमत्कार न्ही, गोंय सरकार पोल्युशन फ्री इको फ्रेंडली इलेक्ट्रिक बसेस धांवतात गोंयच्या रस्त्यार.
कदंबा ट्रान्सपोर्ट कॉर्पोरेशनाच्यो ई बसीस विथ फुल्ली एअर कंडिशन, 40 सिटिंग कॅपॅसिटी, USB सॉकेट्स, रिजनरेटिव्ह ब्रेकिंग सिस्टम आणि प्रवाशांच्या सुरक्षे खातीर एमर्जन्सी बटन.
कदंबा बसी आमकां जितल्यो फॅसिलिटीज दितात तितल्योच फॅसिलिटीज माझी बस ह्या स्किमी अंतर्गत जवळ जवळ 25 प्रायव्हेट बसी आमकां दितात. म्हणजे स्टुडंट्सांक कन्सेशन, सिनियर सिटीजन्सांक कन्सेशन आणि कॅन्सर पेशंट्सांक फ्री ट्रॅव्हल. इतलेंच न्ही, प्रायव्हेट बस ओनराक सुद्दां ह्या स्किमींतल्यान खूब आदार मेळटा. आ करून कितें पळयता, आतां उलय.
आता किती उलो भिवपाची सोड, आता उलोवपाची गरज ना.
शुद्ध श्वास, आरोग्यदायी प्रवास, आरोग्याची हमी गोंय सरकार पडचो ना खंयच कमी.